Hey guys, finally, it's part 3 of this Cross Stitch 101 series that I started quite some time ago. So, off camera, I finished up the rest of the red in this pattern. You can see there. So, in this video, we're going to start the second color, which is the black. Now, all the stitches that we do in this video are going to be done the exact same way that we did the red stitches. And actually this part up here with the black is going to be quite simple because it's going to be exactly the same as this. Now the part that might get a little confusing are going to be these spots. So that's where we're going to start, and I'm going to show you how you can do all of these without doing this and cutting the thread, and then doing this one and cutting the thread, and you can do them all pretty much with the same thread. Plus, you notice there's one stitch there and one stitch there. So I'm going to show you how to take care of all that. So the thread has been run through a couple stitches, so I can get my scissors and just cut that off. And go ahead and take this thread off of the needle, and I'm going to cut it off pretty close to where it's running through those stitches. I'll put my scissors right there, so there's not going to be much of a tail sticking out, as you can see. Now these longer tails, that's where I started, and then the shorter tails are where I end. So anyway, let's get this thread off of here, and we'll thread up a new piece. And we'll separate out just like we've been doing. Separate out one thread. All the rest of those off, put that to the side. And then we'll take one end, get to that end, grab the other end, get these even. This is just a recap of how we did this in the first video. We want to get both of these threads as even as we can. And don't be afraid to take your time and get this right. Don't be afraid to take your time with any of this. Patience is a big factor in cross stitching. So once we get those pretty much even, we're going to grab both of those in that hand. We're going to pull it until we find the center of the thread. Okay, and I switch my hands a lot. Once you practice this and get good at it, you might be able to do it a lot quicker than I can. I twist it a little bit just to get that. You get that loop, and then the end of your needle, this is going to be a little bit harder to see on here, I think, because it's not focusing the way that it should. But we're going to stick that little loop through the needle, pull the loop through while holding the needle, and then stick the needle back through this loop. Grab the needle in this hand and pull the thread, and it locks it in just like that. So we have two strands on now from one strand. So this is not going to last as long as if I put two strands actually on here, but it's a lot easier to thread, and the needle can just hang there. It's not going to fall off. So we're going to start down here in these bottom ones, and since we have one stitch here in this square and one stitch here in this square, and we got 4 across. Usually I'll start where there's the most that I can lock it down with. So I'll probably start here and do these 4 across, jump over and do this one, jump back, finish this here, and then jump over and do the same thing over here but backwards. So like I said in the second video, I want to kind of plan this out in my head, the order I want to go before I start, so then I kind of know what I'm going to do. So I want to start right here. So I'm just going to stick my needle in through the front so I know where to bring it through on the back. It just makes it easier for me. So I know I want the needle to come through this hole right here. So I'll pull the rest. Well, let's go ahead and pull this through. I've got my eye on it through that hole right there. And that's right. So I'm going to pull it through. going to go ahead and start this stitch. And one person made the comment that you don't have to keep flipping it back and forth. You don't, but personally for me, I find it easier because I can see what I'm doing. I can see it just a little bit better if I flip it back and forth. So I get one stitch down to lock it in, and I flip it back over, and I'm going to do the same thing here. Go over to the next half of that stitch, go through, and I like to flip it over. So I flip it over, push it through. I'll do one more and then I'll cut that tail off. So this is the third one, and then stitch that through. So then I can just drop my needle and it's not going to fall off. It's one thing I really like about threading my needles this way, is that I don't have to worry. And these tails too, I'll leave it just a little bit longer, chop that off. So I can get another stitch or so on that. I'll pull that tight. And go and do this last stitch right here. Right through there. Okay, so then I'm going to have to go over 2 stitches. I've got one there, and then put this last one in. So on the back, I'm here on the top. I'm going to have to go down 1 and over 2 so that I'll come out right here and can do this last stitch. And so that's basically what you do when you have big gaps like this. You'll go down 1, over 2, and you'll just jump. So when I pull that through, you'll see on the back it's a little bit longer of a jump there, and two stitches across really isn't much. If you're jumping like 10 stitches across, that might be a lot, but 2, 3, 4 stitches, that's fine. So up here, when we jump between these two, we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stitches. So 6 stitches still isn't, it's a little bit bigger jump, but it works fine. So we'll flip it back over. We'll finish this stitch here. And here is that outside stitch done. So now we'll jump back across 2. So we'll go back down 1, over 2. And we should come out right on the bottom, right there. Right where we need to be. So we'll go back. And now, this is part of the planning ahead again. I can go ahead and finish this row and then do the top and then do the bottom. Or, since I'm right here, I can go ahead and take care of them now. Because if I finish that stitch and go down like I'm going to the next stitch, I'm going to come out in the correct space to go ahead and do these bottom 2. So I'm going to go ahead and jump down here and do those. So you see, I had that stitch, I came out to finish this one, but instead I just went ahead and went down. So now I'll flip it back over and go up to this next stitch. Do that. Flip it over. Like I said, you don't have to flip it, but I like to flip it. And I think I actually came out a little bit wrong on that stitch, but this is another thing about cross stitch. It's not all perfect. So I'm just going to leave it and I'm going to go on. Because usually, even if it's not exactly perfect, people are not going to notice. And in reality, nothing is really perfect. So it makes it your own. It gives it some character. And there we go. Now I could go up 1 and finish this row. But I'm going to jump up 2. No. I take that back. I'm going to actually jump up 3 so that I come out up here and finish these top 2. So when I flip it over, I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, all the way up here. It's going to come out on the top. And I'm going to finish these top 2 real quick. That's half of them. And there we go. So now all we have to do is finish these 3, and then we can jump over to this side and basically do the same thing. So we go back down 1 to come out on the bottom, right there where we need to be. I apologize if y'all hear my intestines going or anything. Okay, so now this spot is finished. So there you go. That spot's finished, and that one stitch over here is finished. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. Y'all can watch me stitch this last bit here and kind of see how I do that. I'm going to jump over 2. So we'll do the same thing we did earlier. Down 1, over 2 to come out in the wrong place. So in this case, I want to come out on the top. So I'm not going to go down 1. I'm just going to go over 2. And I'm going to come out on the top here where I want to be. And I'm just going to speed this part up, and y'all can watch me finish this spot. Okay, pause for a second. This time when I come out on this stitch, it comes out on the top. So it's kind of the opposite of this one, where this one came out on the bottom. I did the bottom row first. This one's going to come out on the top. So I'm going to do the top row first. And then I'll come back and do the bottom. And we'll be done with these 2. And I'm starting to get a little low on thread, but I think I've got enough to finish this spot out. Because when you have just a few stitches like this, that's one thing I don't want to do, is run out of the thread before I get finished. So I'm going to avoid that jump this time because I want to conserve as much as I can. So I'm going to just jump back down to this middle row, do 1, do I want to do that? See, this is a game time decision. I don't want to jump back up to that one. I'm going to actually jump over, because this only uses a half a stitch worth, and go back and do this bottom row. So now I've only got 4 stitches left. And see, this is what I meant last time by kind of planning it out in your head, making decisions on the fly. Okay, that's right. To try to make things easier and to conserve the amount of thread that you're using, especially when you start getting low. So this time I'm gonna finish that one. I'm going to jump up 1, and I went up too far, so I'm gonna go right there. I'm gonna end up going back to finish this one, and then I'm going to jump over 1 to finish the last one. If I can see where this is supposed to go through. Right there. When it starts to get cluttered on the back, it gets a little difficult to see where to put your needle. So there we go. So I will fasten this off on the back, and I will finish these last 2 spots. We'll just jump across the same way we did with these on the back, where we jumped 2 stitches. We'll just be jumping 6 stitches instead. So exact same thing. I'll do 1 spot, jump across, do the other spots. The top part will be, like I said, fairly simple. It'll just rows of stitching, one at a time, until you get to the very top, where I would do this row and go down, and then on the way back I would catch these 2, and then I would finish some more, and then I would catch these 2, these 4, and these 2, come back down, catch these 2, and then finish it. So that's going to be it to finish the black. I'm going to do most of that off camera, and then I will come back in the next video and we will talk about back stitching, which is what these legs are. So thank you guys for watching. I hope this helped out some, and stay tuned next time for back stitching.